Alright, so now that you have your model made, in this case, like I said, the helmet, um, first thing you want to get it textured, right? So, first thing you need to do is change to Cycles Render. Why do you want to change to Cycles Render? Because Cycles Render is easier to set up a texture on it right now. So, after that, go into Edit Mode. And for PlanetSide 2, the textures are already created, so we have to use our Geo for creating the lines where we want stuff. So in this case, we go here, and I want this is going to be purple here. This is going to be gray, and right in here is going to be a sea green, I believe is color, emissive color. So I'm going to create a line by right-clicking on the edge, then pressing Control, right-clicking to here, and then Control to there, like so, and then go like this here. Basically, what you're doing is you are creating a loop or a circle or something of that nature. I can't remember what the actual term would be, and I just did that wrong. I don't actually want that. I want right there, right there, right there, right there, and around the bottom, because I want my emissive to go right in there. Okay, so now that you have the area selected that you want the texture to go inside of, come over here on the shading and UVs, and you press Mark Seam. Now when you deselect it, you will see a red line right there, right? That indicates that there is a cut in your mesh. So when you UV unwrap it, it will create a UV island that is only for that area right there. I've also got this marked out, as you can see, with the red. That is going to be an emissive as well. So now, once you have that marked, you need to come over here, and you're going to create a new texture. So press New. This makes the model a little bit brighter. Come down here to the color and press on the little dot, right, whatever you want to call it, right there. You're going to go to Image Texture, since we are using a pre-existing texture that PlanetSide 2 provides. Now, press Open and go to your Player Studio install, or the PTS install. And so that, I believe the general location of that, or the usual location of that, is C, User, Public, and Daybreak Games. It's PlanetSide 2, Player Studio, and Player Studio Textures. Now, this is all the textures that you can use. For this helmet, we are going to be using the VS helmet texture. Now, you gotta find it in here. Shared character. You can also use, for helmets, you can use character textures and you can use weapon textures. To my knowledge, you can use any texture that is connected to a player. So it would be the armor, or the character, the helmet, and the general weapons texture for any model. Now, you only can use where's that? Weapons, nope. You can only use those textures on characters. Give me just a second here. Right here we go. Okay, you can only use VS textures on a VS helmet or on VS items, and you can only use each individual Empire specific texture. You can't go cross Empire. So if you want a color from an NC helmet or an NC texture on a TR or a VS item, you cannot do that. But you can use different textures than just the helmet ones on a helmet. Quick note, you can only use one texture map per model. This means if you're using the helmet texture map, you can't use the character texture map on the same model. You can only use one texture map per model. Okay, so now that we have this selected, we can move this to the side right there, and we can move this out, drag this out. Go down here, select UVs. You select all, and come back over to this window, and then select all of your helmet, UV, and press U, then press unwrap. Now, you will get this. Now, first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that this little bit right here is selected so that you can actually select each individual island instead of, I believe it comes like that, where you only select, yeah, that's the way it comes. Okay, so the way it comes is you can only select one vertice, but if you change it, you can select the whole island. Now, if you press G and move your mouse around, you can move it and then just press left click where you want it. Okay, but I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so what you want to do now is come down here, browse images, and you want to use the image, this one right here, which will be the name the same, and it will open this texture up. Now, if you go down here on this part, you can come to material and you can see your helmet like this, right? Now, to change it, all you have to do is right click on one of these, press G, move the island to where you want it. I want this to be gray. And then, so now I press S to scale, and I can move it in. And that looks good to me. And so I'm going to leave that there. Now, I believe that this right here, oh, that's actually the eye. So I will move that up to the emissive texture right here. Now, some of these textures you can get information on the Player Studio website or the forum, like I mentioned in one of the other videos. And you can get more information about what each of these textures are. There's also other textures that you can play around with if you know what you're doing. I'm not going to include in this video what those are, but if you know what each texture is, you can figure it out. Also, because each of these different swatches here have different textures. These are all metallic right here. This one does not allow camo. This one does. So does this one. This one does not allow camo on it. But when you're using the smaller texture swatches like this, you want to make sure that you make your island here as big as possible. So you want to scale this. If you press R, you can rotate. So I'm going to do that. Scale it in there, just about like that. And now we have, if you see over here, we have it where it's going to glow. Now, I'm not going to do all of this on camera. I am going to skip ahead to the part where I have it textured, but you have the idea. So, see you in a minute. Alright, so now that you have it all textured, like you can see here, and it's done, now it is time to export it as FBX. But first, we need to make sure that we have 3 UV maps here, because Player Studio Viewer requires 3 UV maps. The first layer is for the color, second layer is for the texture, and third layer is because it just requires that for another part, not for helmets. But anyway, you need to make sure that you have 3 UV maps here. Alright, so now that we have all that done and everything textured, now it is time to export so that you can import it into the Player Studio Viewer. So we need to export as an FBX. I like to put mine on desktop here, and I already have one there, so I'm just going to export it. You can name it whatever you like. And now I have it, I think, right there. So it is now time to go to the Player Studio. One more thing now. You're also going to need to make a female version, which this will be a little bit different. You're going to have to lower the head. You're going to have to lower the helmet height a little bit because the female head is a little bit lower. Also, you're going to need to extend the neck as well. Do some adjustment to that. It is good to submit both a male and female version of the helmet, otherwise you may get declined because the devs don't have time. So, okay, now that we have that done, it is time to take a look at the Player Studio Viewer in the next video. So I will see you all then.